Manchester United fans, yes, we just came out of a very intense game, and suddenly the narrative has changed again. First, they said we couldn't beat smaller teams. Today we did. Now the story is, it wasn't a comfortable win because it was against Fulham at Old Trafford. This is exactly how the narratives keep moving. When we played Manchester City at home and had just 32% possession, nobody complained because it was City and we won. When we went to the Emirates and had 44% possession against Arsenal, nobody complained because it was Arsenal and we won. But today, at home against Fulham, we had 42% possession, and suddenly it's a problem. Yes, I accept it was a little bit disappointing, I know this, but there is reason for that. What many people are refusing to understand is the context of the game. We were already 2-0 up, and once you are leading, especially comfortably, the opposition will naturally have more of the ball because they are chasing the game. If we were not winning, then yes, the possession numbers would be a serious concern. But we were in control of the scoreline, and that changes everything, but that is not all because I need to clear some very important points. Now this is where many people completely miss the point. This Fulham team is not a small, passive side that comes to Old Trafford to park the bus. They were 7th on the table before this game, they play football, and they go at teams, even the big ones, they don't seat back, they don't pack the bus. They beat Chelsea 2-1, they drew 2-2 with Liverpool, and they lost 5-4 to Manchester City, which means they scored 4 goals against City. Do you think they sat back to score 4 against City, 2 against Chelsea, and 2 against Liverpool? Even Arsenal struggled to beat them 1-0. So the idea that Manchester United should just completely dominate Fulham for 90 minutes, especially even while leading 2-0, means some people are yet to understand this league and also this Fulham capabilities. And here is the real truth, this team is still a work in progress. We don't have enough wingers, we don't have enough midfield depth, and it shows during games. But despite all that, we got the job done. We scored 3 goals at Old Trafford, secured our 3rd win in a row under Michael Carrick, and once again showed that we don't need all the ball to win football matches. We are building, we are growing, and we are not a finished product yet, and that's okay. Manchester United fans, let's not kill the joy or downplay what we just witnessed here. This is now 3 wins in a row for Michael Carrick, 3 games, 3 wins, something it took us more than 1 full year to achieve before he came in. Now look at the numbers, 8 goals in 3 matches, 9 points in 3 matches, and suddenly we are back in the top 4, just 5 points away from 3rd place. That alone tells you how massive this moment is. Before now, whenever we have opportunities to get into the top 4, we just mess it up, but not again. And with these results, we have completely silenced everyone who was waiting for our downfall. We shut up those who said it was a one-off performance. We shut up those who said we only turn up against big teams. We shut up those who screamed manager bounce. The message is now clear to the entire football world, this is Manchester United, and our DNA is back. This is what Manchester United football is supposed to look like, and once again today, the players proved something very important, they can fight, they can show grit, they can show passion, and most importantly, they refuse to settle for a point. Even when the game became difficult, even when it wasn't smooth, even when things weren't perfect, they refused to draw, they refused to be comfortable with 1 point. They dug deep, they pushed, and they made sure we walked away with all 3 points, because that is who we are Manchester United. Now let's go deeper into this performance. Let me break the game down step by step and walk you through exactly how it played out. Please kindly give this video a like, subscribe to the channel, and stay with me as I unfold everything. It was actually a very good start from us, especially in terms of possession and composure. We played out from the back really well, calmly and confidently, and there were no unnecessary long balls, even with Fulham trying to apply pressure. You could clearly see that this team now trusts itself on the ball. The goalkeeper was very involved in the build-up, which is exactly what you expect when you're playing at Old Trafford against a team considered smaller. You want control, you want calmness, and you want to draw the opponent out. Now, we didn't completely dominate possession the way some people expected, but that was not a surprise if you truly understand Fulham. We respected them, and rightly so, because Fulham are not a team that simply sits back and waits to counter. They like to play football, they have technically good players, and they are very comfortable keeping the ball, and they showed that again in this game. But the key difference was how we used the ball. We didn't keep possession for the sake of it, we didn't pass the ball around recklessly or carelessly, because losing the ball in dangerous areas can punish you badly. Instead, every time we had possession, there was a clear intention behind it. You could see the movement, you could see the runs, you could see players pulling wide and others making runs in behind. The ball was always played with purpose. That's why the game felt end-to-end at times, not because we were careless, but because whenever we had the ball, we were trying to hurt Fulham. Now whenever we kept possession, there was a very clear and deliberate structure in the way we attacked. Luke Shaw was consistently the overlapping fullback, pushing high and wide whenever we had the ball, while Dalot tucked inside and joined the centre-backs to form a solid three-man defence. That balance was intentional. It allowed Shaw to overlap with confidence, knowing fully well that the back line was protected and we wouldn't be exposed if Fulham tried to counter quickly. Nothing about that movement was random, everything had a clear purpose behind it. And there was also a specific reason why Shaw was the one overlapping, not Dalot. That reason was Cunha. We all know Cunha is not a natural winger. He doesn't stay glued to the touchline, and he is much more comfortable drifting inside, dropping into midfield pockets and combining in central areas. Because of that, the left flank could easily become empty if no one occupied it. That's where Shaw's role became vital. He was positioned to attack those half spaces, make overlapping runs at the right moments, stretch Fulham's defensive shape, and provide passing and crossing options from wide areas. We scored 2 goals, one coming from a free kick and the other from a very lovely, well-timed pass from Casemiro into Cunha to make it 2. And yes, let's be honest, Cunha was clearly having a difficult game before that goal. He wasn't fully in rhythm, some of his touches were off, and things weren't quite clicking for him early on. But that goal was a perfect example of something very important: you don't need to dominate possession or have all of the ball to score goals. That is exactly what this current Manchester United team represents right now. We are more about efficiency, timing, and taking our moments rather than just keeping the ball for the sake of it. Cunha took that goal from the right side, even though he was playing from the left. Because he is normally everywhere on the pitch, drifting inside, dropping deep, popping up in different zones, and that's actually a good thing. I said it clearly during the pre-match show that our front players would constantly switch positions, and once again we saw that happen in this game. That flexibility makes us unpredictable and difficult to mark. However, there was one clear thing missing in this match, and it showed at different moments in the game: a natural left winger who can offer what Ahmad gives us on the right side. Ahmad brings consistent threat, directness, dribbling, and creativity from the right, and defenders are always worried about him. On the left side, we didn't have that same level of threat. At times, there were no clear passing options on that side, no one stretching the pitch naturally, and that imbalance affected our overall flow. It didn't just affect our attacking threat, it also affected our possession, because when one side lacks penetration, the team becomes easier to press and predict. That left side issue is something we still need to address as we continue building this team. But Fulham later found their way back into the game by scoring 2 goals, and yes, it was clearly a very difficult period for us. You could see that we were struggling to fully get hold of the ball, and every time we tried to play fast, we kept losing possession too easily. In moments like that, we should have slowed the game down a bit more, kept the ball better, and managed the tempo instead of forcing things. We ended up conceding 2 goals, one from the penalty spot and another from open play, and those goals exposed the areas where we still need improvement. But for me, the most important thing in that entire phase was not the goals we conceded, it was our immediate response. The reaction was elite. Scoring again almost instantly through Benjamin Sesko showed character, mentality, and belief. That goal summed up exactly what I have been saying all along. The moment we were no longer winning, you could immediately see the shift in our approach. We suddenly kept the ball better, we took more control, and we asserted ourselves higher up the pitch. It didn't even take 2 minutes for us to score the 3rd goal. Do you really think that was a coincidence or a mistake? No. That was a clear sign that if we were losing or drawing, we would naturally have more possession and more control than we showed when we were leading. It proves that this team is capable of keeping the ball better when the situation demands it. But at the same time, it also highlights something very important: we are still a work in progress. We must learn how to control games better even when we are winning, not only when we are chasing a goal. Game management is still something this team has to improve on, and we also cannot ignore the obvious need for a proper left winger to balance the team. And then there is Benjamin Sesko. Today, he showed clearly that he is ready to start games. That goal was massive, not just because of the timing, but because of what it represents. He showed hunger, composure, and confidence when the pressure was high. He has proven that he can offer a lot to this team, and that is exactly what you want in a strong squad. Competition is healthy, and right now we have it. Sesko can start games, Cunha can start games, Bumo can start games, and all of them are delivering when called upon. That creates a big problem for opposition managers because they don't know who will start, who will drift wide, who will play through the middle, and who will hurt them. Now, regardless of the goals we conceded, we defended very well as a unit, and that was one of the most impressive parts of this performance. Anytime Fulham had the ball, that level of defensive awareness and work rate shows a team that understands responsibility. It wasn't just the defenders doing the job, the midfielders tracked back, the attackers helped out, and the whole team moved as one to limit Fulham's threat. That kind of defensive discipline is not accidental, it comes from structure, confidence, and players buying into what the coach is asking them to do. Casemiro was an absolute beast in this game. This was a top-class performance from him, the kind of performance that reminds everyone of his quality and importance. He didn't just sit deep and break up play, he dominated the midfield with intelligence, timing, and composure. He capped it off with a beautiful goal and a classy assist, showing both his defensive and offensive value in one game. What stood out even more was how obvious the drop in performance was the moment he left the pitch. You could immediately feel the difference in control, protection, and authority in midfield. That is something I have been saying for a long time now. We clearly need a proper defensive midfielder to replace him. It is very clear that midfield reinforcement is needed, and yes, it looks like we are going to address that in the summer. But for now, we have to work with what we have, and Casemiro is still carrying a massive responsibility in this team for now. Mainu also had a very strong game and deserves a lot of credit. His composure on the ball was excellent, his long passes were well measured, and he helped us calm the game down when things became intense. What impressed me most was the defensive side of his performance. He did more defensive work than we usually see from him, tracking runners, closing spaces, and supporting Casemiro when Fulham tried to overload the midfield. And then there is Martinez. He was absolutely solid at the back once again. This man is a wall, a warrior, and a constant worry for every attacker he comes up against. He reads the game so well, he times his challenges perfectly, and he is always there when we need him the most. Whether it's stepping out to intercept, winning duels, or organizing the back line. Martinez brings leadership and aggression that lifts everyone around him. He played with authority, confidence, and fight, and that kind of presence at the back gives the entire team belief. It was a very good game from him.